Hello and welcome to ITV News West Country with Seb and Victoria.
Thank you for joining us. The headlines tonight. The school in Bridgwater deemed unsafe, teachers, students and parents left in limbo as they still don't have the go-ahead to return next week.
I feel failed, I feel outraged and I feel cheated.
Campaigners in Devon working to save people from suicide by writing a letter for tomorrow.
Also in the programme tonight, we hear the incredible ambitions of a painting man who's heading to Antarctica to break a world record.
And how this art show in Cornwall tells the story of the legend of King Arthur. Good evening and welcome to the programme. Parents at a school in Somerset say they've been left angry and worried that their children won't be able to start term as planned next week because the building has been declared unsafe.
Separate from the issue of unsafe concrete that's affecting other sites, this concerns the way the building has been put together. The company which built Haygrove School in Bridgwater was also responsible for a number of other schools, including two in Cornwall, which had to be demolished before they were finished when the firm went bust. Bob Cruz reports.
More than 1,000 children should be coming in through these doors to start the new school year next week, but for now the building is out of bounds, deemed potentially unsafe by structural engineers, with concerns over whether it would be able to withstand high winds or adverse weather. It was only built 3 years ago. The frustration and disappointment of parents has turned to anger, not just because of the continued disruption to their children's education after everything they've been through with coronavirus and teacher strikes, but because of the potential risk to their children's safety.
Once the enormity of the situation came in, I realised that actually I'm not sad, I'm angry. It's crazy that we've endangered our children's lives, thousands of children's lives, in a building that's absolutely not fit for purpose. And that's makes me very, very angry.
I feel failed, I feel outraged and I feel cheated. It's our council tax money, our taxes, that pays for this. They built something on the cheap and now they're going to have to spend a lot of money to put it right. We've all been cheated.
Haygrove School's main building will now be wrapped and encased in scaffolding while they work out what to do next. Temporary loos have been brought onto the site in preparation for the new term, and a row of cabins has been set up on a basketball court to serve as office space. But there aren't enough classrooms, they haven't had time to get everything in place, and they're going to have to stagger the start of school. The current situation is that Year 11 students will come back next week. Year 10 children will have to wait until September the 18th to start term, but they won't be coming here. Space is being made to teach them at the nearby Bridgwater and Taunton College for the time being. For the Year 7, 8 and 9s, it's another story. They can't come back to school until there's a proper fence around this building and enough temporary classrooms to accommodate them all. And at the moment, they just haven't got a date for that.
Well, I can imagine how frustrating that must be, but the priority is got to be making sure that the site is completely safe for them to return. So that's why we're working really closely with the DfE to make sure that we're really 100% confident that that's the case.
Parents we spoke to say the staff have been doing a good job under difficult circumstances, but they're having to scramble to make arrangements to get children into school when they should really be focusing on preparing work for the term ahead. Bob Cruz, ITV News, Bridgwater.
Right, let's bring you some other news tonight. And there's disruption for rail passengers today and tomorrow due to ongoing disputes over pay and conditions. Travellers should expect problems on services going to and from Cornwall and between Exeter St David's, Barnstaple, Exmouth and Plymouth. Saturday will see limited services running from Taunton to Plymouth.
An ambulance in Cornwall has been given a parking ticket while attending an emergency. It was parked in a St Ives car park to avoid blocking the road. The crew found the ticket when they returned with their patient. Cornwall Council has confirmed that the ticket is no longer valid. Now, young people in Devon who have previously attempted to take their own lives have written a powerful letter in an attempt to provide hope to others in difficult times.
The so-called Letter for Tomorrow is being published ahead of World Suicide Prevention Day. Richard Lawrence has been talking to one of the authors.
Please stay alive to see what tomorrow might bring. You can get through this moment. None of us claim that it will be easy. It can be challenging, but no matter how hard things get, life offers possibilities that you may have forgotten exist or never dreamed of.
Holly Hinksman was a victim of bullying at the age of 13. She felt her life was worthless and attempted to take her own on 3 occasions.
Obviously, it was about 7 years ago, so it wasn't really spoken about in schools. And it was quite scary because even the GPs, it was, kind of walking on ice. No one really knew what to say, and it only got to the point where I did attempt that I was actually given any help at all, and I was sort of begging for help and no one was giving it to me, so I kind of felt like that was my only option, and because no one was helping me I thought that no one would care, when in reality that wasn't the case at all.
Above all, she told me she felt overwhelmed and alone.
Well, for any young person with mental health issues, there is now a whole range of services to reach out to, from an informal text helpline to a formal chat room that's monitored by professionals to full medical intervention if required.
The Letter for Tomorrow has been written with the support of the Devon NHS Partnership Trust to help hundreds of children at any one time. We've been impressed by the deeply moving letter that was written alongside a similar campaign for adults called the Letter of Hope.
And all of those young people, they shape the service that we deliver, and their message needs to be the loudest because they have the lived experience and they want to ensure that services are right for young people and that the help is there when people need it the most. But I think the first step, and it's a really brave one, is really talking about how you're feeling.
Later we learnt that it was not death that we wanted, but to end the terrible thoughts, feelings and pain we were experiencing. Because of the experiences we have been through, we came together to write to you.
Powerful personal words, a paragraph she chose in a letter that hopes will empower others to seek help.
But now being able to sort of speak up and talk to people who felt the same as me, it's quite empowering because, I've not felt alone since writing this letter.
She's now studying to qualify as a mental health nurse with the aim of working in schools in future. Richard Lawrence, ITV News.
And if you're affected by any of the issues in Richard's report, you can find help and advice over on our website. Just head to itv.com/westcountry.
Now, deaths from drink drive crashes on our roads have reached a 12-year high. New figures show that here in the West Country there were 30 fatal crashes and 110 serious collisions in the space of a year.
Well, our police forces say they're determined to save lives by targeting those who get behind the wheel while over the limit. Amrit Birdie reports.
In just a few minutes' time, this dashcam will capture the moment the drunk driver of this car crashes off the road, throwing 17-year-old Phoebe Johnson from the back seat to her death. Phoebe's parents, who remember her as a quiet but funny girl who loved sports, are still devastated that she agreed to a late-night joyride and that she didn't put her seatbelt on.
Everything you shouldn't do was on the dashcam. Seatbelt, drinking, speed, do you care?
You said that a few times, haven't you? Phoebe, why didn't you put your seatbelt on?
Yeah, I couldn't get my head around that.
Just certain decisions made on the spur of the moment, and one thing led to another. It's changed our lives completely, and we will never be the same again, ever. Yeah. The life we knew is gone.
Sadly, stories like Phoebe's are becoming increasingly common, with deaths as a result of drink driving at a 12-year high. The latest figures show that in the southwest there were 30 fatal collisions and 110 serious collisions. Across the country there were 220 deaths as a result of drink driving. It's led to police forces cracking down. Out on patrol, I wanted to know what made someone over the limit stand out on the roads. So, Lewis, tell me the kind of things that you look out for when you're on the road like this.
With drink and drug drivers, it could be a number of things. It could be down to the manner of driving, so it could be swerving from left to right, in and out of lanes. It could be speeding, it could be driving too slow. It could be a complete number of things.
Behind the stark drink driving figures are the families who've lost someone they love. And that is what those leading the campaign want us all to remember. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Well, you're watching ITV News in the West Country with Victoria and Seb. Thank you for joining us this Friday evening. Still ahead before 6:30. Now, this may look beautiful, but it's actually part of a Painted Man's preparation for a gruelling challenge crossing Antarctica.
And Charlie's here with the weather.
I am, and it's nowhere near as cold as that, look, but some nice sunshine around, Budley Salston, for example, and we'll take a look at some summer stats in a few minutes as well.
Now, the number of animals injured by angling litter, such as old fishing line and barbed hooks, almost doubles in the summer months, according to the RSPCA.
Well, the charity received more than 100 calls about fishing litter across the West Country last year alone.
Well, now it's issued a stark warning urging all anglers to be extra cautious and make sure nothing is left behind that could endanger life. Sam Mangabe reports.
Fishing is a much-loved hobby, and its popularity even saw a rise during the COVID pandemic. But last summer, the RSPCA reported a rise in animal injuries as a direct result of litter left behind when fishing. In June, a swan was found in the River Dart near Totnes Weir Hydro in Devon, with fishing hooks embedded in its neck and bill. And last year alone, there were 117 calls made to the RSPCA about animals affected by fishing litter in the West Country. Now the charity is calling for change.
Any sort of birds associated with the water, they can get tangled up in the line. Unfortunately, sometimes this line can tangle so tightly that it cuts off the blood supply. Hooks are swallowed, particularly if they've still got bait attached to the end. Most anglers are out there being very responsible, but unfortunately there are some that don't, and it's just hugely important because there's animals that are losing their lives to this.
Data from last year showed the number of wildlife injuries increased during the summer months, when more people are taking up outdoor activities like fishing for the first time. It's thought that inexperienced anglers could be largely responsible for the litter, with the Angling Trust insisting that most people are considerate of wildlife when they fish.
Lots of people out there enjoying our beautiful countryside, and that's when we see a lot of new people coming enjoying fishing for the first time. As a result of that, they might get some line snagged in a tree or in some vegetation, and they're not quite sure what to do with it. Any old line, old spools, which is kind of what the line comes on, can be sent off to be recycled so it doesn't go to landfill. I think it's 81 million metres of line have been recycled, so that can go around the world twice.
All anglers are urged to follow the Take 5 campaign, which involves taking 5 items of litter home or spending 5 minutes removing litter after fishing. And it's thought that this small change could have a big impact when it comes to reducing the danger for our wildlife. Sam Mangat, ITV News.
Right, it's time for sport, and it's a big day in the footballing world with transfer deadline day, and to talk us through it, we have Ross with us in the studio. It is one of those really exciting and sort of nervous, tense times, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting when your team's being linked with players, not so exciting when your players are being linked with other teams, isn't it? It's one of those. But today, only one place to really start, and that's Exeter City. Going so well in League One, aren't they? But Sam Nombe, the scorer of 27 goals for the Grecians during his time with the club, it's all over for him there now. He's completed a transfer to Rotherham and reunited with former manager Matt Taylor in the process. The fee involved in that one believed to be around £1 million. So another sign of good business the club's been doing over recent years and developing talent and then selling them on for high fees. He'll be a big miss though, and we spoke to the manager Gary Colwell about him at the press conference yesterday.
You know, we wish him the very best. We signed him as the record signing for this football club. We signed him with an intention to work with him the coaches previous to me, Matty and his staff, done a great job with them. The coaches here now have done a great job with them to make him a better player. I think what we've found is no one player is bigger than the football club. The football club keeps going, keeps progressing and keeps moving forward, whilst individual players go on in their careers as well, and we wish them extremely well.
So we're talking about the transfer deadline, but how long is left?
Yeah, just a few hours. It slams shut at 11 p.m. So we'll wait and see whether there's any more business to be done at Exeter City. And it's going to be interesting to see actually how that departure does affect the team. As I said, they're going so well in League One, currently second in the table, a tremendous start. But I spoke about the model of the club earlier, and that's something it regularly does, selling its top talents. And so I decided to take a little look at that this afternoon. And you don't have to think too far back to see the players they've sold on for profit this summer. Josh Key and Archie Collins. Further back than that, you probably have the most famous export from Exeter, Ollie Watkins. He's gone on to play for England since, and before that it was Matt Grimes in 2015 to Swansea. So they're able to get big transfer fees into the club, rebuild and then start again, which is just testament to the team, really. But there's one other thing I did want to talk about with Exeter City, and take a little look at this video that was posted yesterday. Now, I'll be honest, I don't actually have any idea what is happening here, but it does look like really good fun, doesn't it? I mean, they're second in the table, so clearly it's paying off for them in some way. But that's the thing people are picking up on. There seems to be a really good atmosphere around the club, and they all seem to be having fun, and it's just a really tight-knit group, which is maybe the reason why they're doing so well in the league. Moving on to the other team, obviously, in our region, Argyle. Rumours are they could be looking at bringing a few players in before the deadline as well. They obviously did a lot of business with Ballymumba and Morgan Whittaker earlier on in the window. We'll see what happens there. But both of those teams, Argyle and Exeter, in action tomorrow. We've got the fixtures here. Exeter, they'll be playing Burton Albion, and Argyle will be facing Blackburn. So we'll let you know how they get on and let you know what happens before that transfer deadline at 11 p.m.
Does that transfer deadline just go down to the wire sometimes?
Completely, and sometimes over it if the right paperwork's been filled out. So yeah, there will be some drama, I'm sure.
I'm sure there will be. Ross, thank you very much.
Now, an exhibition of pre-Raphaelite art telling the story of Cornwall's links to the legend of King Arthur has gone on display in Falmouth.
Yes, the show features 60 iconic works from public and private collections and is free to attend until the end of September. Sam Blackledge went along to find out more.
With its vibrant colours, fine detail and poetic symbolism, the pre-Raphaelite art movement of the 19th century is always guaranteed to draw a crowd, and the end of the summer holidays is the perfect time to take in a spot of culture.
It's a fantastic showcase of artworks from all over the country and overseas, which encapsulate the legend of King Arthur, its connection to Cornwall, and the enduring fascination that the public has had with the pre-Raphaelites.
The centrepiece of the exhibition is a series of works called The Lady of Shalott, painted in 1888 by John William Waterhouse.
It tells the story of a woman, the Lady of Shalott, who was put under a curse. She was relegated to a tower where she was confined to spend her days weaving what she saw through the reflection in a mirror. One day she broke that curse by turning to face the window as she saw Lancelot walking past. She fell in love with him, and it culminates in her tragic death, sadly, because her love is unrequited, and she sets herself off in a boat towards Camelot, where she dies, and Lancelot spies her from the windows in the castle. We've had a really, really positive response from visitors. They've just absolutely loved the fact that all of this amazing artwork is here. It's made its way down to Cornwall, and it's free to view as well. We are a free art gallery. We've had days when it has been really, really busy, and it's been quite an experience for our staff as well, managing all of these visitors. But it's been absolutely fantastic, and we've really enjoyed having it here.
Really amazing. It's staggering to see so many incredible paintings in a pretty small gallery. The quality has just blown me away. I came in, I immediately saw the Lady of Shalott and a few other water houses, and that absolutely stunning tapestry. It's an extraordinary collection, absolutely.
Well, I just love the Pre-Raphaelites. They are it's my favourite, yeah. And so it's a real treat.
The exhibition runs until the end of September, so still plenty of time to come along and appreciate the beauty of these stunning pieces of art. Sam Blackledge, ITV News, Falmouth.
Oh, some beautiful paintings there, yeah. Now, our next guest is nothing short of incredible. Sam Cox from Paignton is going to attempt to cross Antarctica, a route of 2,000 kilometres, which will take him 2 months, and he's going to do it all alone. If he succeeds, it'll be a world record.
As you can imagine, this takes a lot of preparation. This is him at Leeds Beckett University, learning about how his body can perform. And he's already been on training expeditions to Sweden and Norway.
Well, earlier we got to chat to him, and I started by asking why he's decided to do this.
I was in the military. I left earlier in the summer, so I came back from being very busy, straight into lockdown, literally straight into lockdown from being away. So I'd finished watching telly. I think I watched everything on telly, and then I needed something to focus my mind. So that's where the idea came from, and it started off looking at a marathon, and then sort of it extended beyond that to what it is now. So that's where the initial idea came from.
It's a big extension beyond, isn't it?
It took a few days. But yeah, it's what happens in boredom in my mind. So you end up with
it's a 2,000 kilometre challenge. I mean, and you're on your own.
Yeah.
And this is the first of its kind, really, isn't it?
So things like this have happened before. People have gone further in terms of distance by using kites. Whereas I'll just be skiing, so once I get dropped off until I finish, I'll be unsupported.
That is absolutely, well, it terrifies me. I'm sure you're very excited, but you'll be dragging this, which is, I want to call a sled, but isn't called that.
Yeah, so it's a poke, so it's not this exact one. This one's a training one. So my poke's another 60 centimetres longer and a little bit wider, because I've got quite a lot of stuff to get in there. So 75 days worth of food, or the fuel, my spare clothes. Spartan in terms of what I'm taking, but
you say Spartan, but we said it was 25 stone, which 4 kilograms is 156 or 58.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, my magic number is 160 kilos. I want to stay below, so that includes any luxuries that I'll be taking as well. So it's difficult to keep it low.
Now, you live in Paignton, which is very different, has a very different climate in Torbay. So how do you prepare for something like this?
So my military background, I was in the Royal Marines for quite a long time. So I did a few winters in Norway. That's where the idea of cold weather stuff came from. And then over the past few years, I've been training each winter out in Norway and then Sweden recently.
Just, I mean, talking about how you work and how you use your equipment, you've actually gone through rigorous testing for this, haven't you? You've really pushed yourself to the limit, and you will push yourself further.
Yeah, so recently, it was last week actually, I was in the lab just making sure that my training had sort of culminated in me being physically fit and ready to go. So we did testing in terms of blood lactate, so how I metabolise fat and carbohydrate, and then as well in the cold chamber as well. So the cold chamber again was just to make sure that I'd sensed all up in my skin to make sure I didn't have any cold spots, as well as testing my core body temperature to make sure I could maintain that.
Are you ready mentally?
Yeah, that's the one thing you can't really train for, I suppose, is physically I can do loads of laps of a cold place, so I can go running and do things like that, but mentally it's the big one for me. But I think I've done quite a bit of resilience training to get me ready.
I looked at your website and it said you really want to inspire people to push themselves.
I just want people to appreciate the outdoors and start using the outdoors, and never compare your adventures with something like this. Is even doing a lap around the local park with your dog in the rain is an adventure for some people, and that's not an issue. As long as you're pushing yourself and appreciating the outdoors, that's where it needs to be.
Well, your park's going to be Antarctica for a while, so Sam, what a pleasure meeting you and good luck.
No, thanks for having me.
That was Sam and his Polk, who joined us earlier. Right, Charlie's going to join us now. That picture is as far away from Antarctica as possible, isn't it?
I know, that just made me feel cold, even though I'm in quite a warm studio here with some warm lights. But yes, it's because we've got the stats in for August and the summer, of course. August wound up being relatively normal after the hot, dry June and the fairly wet and cool feeling July. It was only sunshine that was a little bit below par. So the extremes that we had for those 3 months of summer then tended to even out a little bit for summer as a whole, apart from temperatures, thanks to the heat we saw in June, both by day and by night, ended up being the 10th warmest on record for the southwest. Otherwise, though, 10% more rainfall was about the only exciting thing, bizarrely. And this graph shows that quite nicely. Anything brown on this is a dry period, anything blue is a wet period. And this shows our summer as a whole. You can see all our rain fell during the second half of that summer period. But as we head through the next few days, we're probably going to return to something nearer this brown area. We are going to see something a lot drier and quite a bit warmer as well.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV West Country weather.
So a totally different weekend to come from the last few, which have been quite stormy. This one will be pretty dry, pretty sunny and quite warm, warmer still as we head into the start of next week, because high pressure finally is building in from the Atlantic and from the north of the UK, and they kind of join forces, and then that becomes the main feature of our weather as we head into next week. Pretty dry, light winds, a lot of sunshine and some higher temperatures into next week as well. We've seen a few showers around today. They are melting away as we head into the rest of tonight, leaving a couple of cloud breaks around and the odd fog patch, I think, as well. Temperatures maybe a fraction down on the last couple of nights, but still pretty mild if you think about it. 11 or 12 degrees, the low by tomorrow morning. Weather fog has formed. There'll just be patches of it, but it might be a bit of a murky start on Saturday. Otherwise, though, that will go pretty quickly, leaving us with a lot of sunshine and maybe just an isolated shower as we head into the course of the afternoon. But for most, it's going to be a fine start to the weekend and quite a warm start as well. 22 or 23 Celsius, higher than today, feeling warmer than today, and there's more of that to come as well. High tide as we head through tomorrow. Falmouth about 7:45 in the morning and again at 8:05 in the evening. So yes, the high pressure stays with us, and as we work our way through Sunday into next week, increasing amounts of sunshine and those temperatures really picking up quite nicely as well, easily into the low to mid-20s by the time we get through to Monday and Tuesday. So after a relatively average summer, it looks like the start of meteorological autumn could be something a little bit more like it should have been for the last few months. I love these sorts of pictures as well. Susie taking this picture at Dartmead. Just wonder where that road takes you. It looks like it'll take you to some of that sunshine we're looking at as we head through the next few days.
Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV West Country weather.
Charlie, thank you so much. Now, just before we go, have you been receiving some soggy posts recently? Well, we might have a reason why. Yeah, this post box in Cornwall has been sealed off because snails have been eating the mail inside, and you can read all about it on our website. Well, that's it from the two of us. I'll have the late news for you at 11:25. Yes, after the break, the ITV News continues with Bromley Weeks. But from all of us here, goodbye. Bye.